If you're serious about becoming a Java developer, this is one of those skills you just can't skip. Reading and writing data to files is something that shows up in real-world projects, coding interviews, and even your first job. In today's video, we'll build that skill step by step, writing text to a file and then reading it back using Java's BufferedReader and BufferedReader. And the best part is, I'll show you the simplest, cleanest way to do it, so you can apply it confidently in your own projects. Writing data to a file. We'll start with writing some text into a file. For that, the main tool we'll use is BufferedWriter, which makes file writing fast and efficient. Import java.io. BufferedWriter, import java.io. File writer, import java.io. IO exception, public class file write example, public static void main string, args. Try, BufferedWriter writer equals new BufferedWriter new file writer output.text, writer.write writing to a file, writer.close, catch, IO exception e.print, stack, trace. Here's what's happening. We create a BufferedWriter and pass it a file writer with the file name output.text. We call writer.write to write the string. And finally, we close the writer to make sure the text actually gets saved. Important, if you forget to close the writer, your file will be created but it will be empty, so always call close when you're done writing. Adding multiple lines. What if we want to add more than one line to our file? If we just call write again, the new text will go on the same line. That's why we need a new line character \n. Import java.io. BufferedWriter, import java.io. File writer, import java.io. IO exception, public class file write example, public static void main string, args. Try, BufferedWriter writer equals new BufferedWriter new file writer output.text, writer.write writing to a file \n, writer.write here is another line, writer.close, catch, IO exception e.print, stack, trace. By adding \n, the second line gets printed on a new line. This is one of the most common little mistakes beginners make, so remember to add your new lines where needed. Writing data from an array. In real-world programming, you're rarely writing hard-coded strings. Most of the time, you're saving data from variables, lists, or arrays. Let's say we have a small array of names. We can loop through it and write each name to the file on its own line. Import java.io. BufferedWriter, import java.io. File writer, import java.io. IO exception, public class file write example, public static void main string, args. String, names equals, John, Carl, Jerry. Try, BufferedWriter writer equals new BufferedWriter new file writer output.text, writer.write writing to a file \n, writer.write here is another line \n, 4, string name, names, writer.write name plus \n. Writer.close, catch, IO exception e.print, stack, trace. Now each name will be on a separate line inside output.text. This is how you can dynamically save data to files, whether it's user input, log messages, or computed results. Using absolute paths. So far, we've used a relative path, meaning the file is saved in the same folder as the program. But sometimes, you want to save it somewhere specific, like a documents folder. That's where absolute paths come in. Buffered. Writer equals new BufferedWriter new file writer c:\users \John \documents \output.text. Notice the double backslashes. In Java, a single backslash is an escape character. Using double backslashes ensures the path is interpreted correctly. Reading data from a file. Writing to a file is only half the story. In most programs, you'll also need to read data back. To do this, we use BufferedReader together with file reader, the perfect match for the writer we used earlier. Import java.io. BufferedReader, import java.io. File reader, import java.io. IO exception, public class file read example, public static void main string, args. Try, BufferedReader reader equals new BufferedReader new file reader output.text, string first line equals reader.read line, system.out.println first line, reader.close, catch, IO exception e.print, stack, trace. This will read just the first line of the file and print it to the console. And just like with writing, don't forget to call close when you're done. Reading all lines with a loop. Of course, reading just one line isn't very useful. Most of the time, you'll want to process every line in the file until the end. To do this, we'll use a simple while loop. Import java.io. BufferedReader, import java.io. File reader, import java.io. IO exception, public class file read example, public static void main string, args. Try, buffered reader reader equals new buffered reader new file reader output.text, string line, while, line equals reader.read line. Equals null, system.out.println line. Reader.close, catch, IO exception e.print, stack, trace. Here's what's happening behind the scenes. Reader.read, line reads the next line from the file. If it reaches the end, it returns null. The loop continues as long as there's something to read. This is a classic pattern in Java, and you'll use it a lot when working with logs, configuration files, or data processing. Final thoughts. And there you have it, a clean and simple way to write and read text files in Java. Let's quickly recap what we covered. How to use BufferedWriter and FileWriter to write to files. How to use BufferedReader and FileReader to read files line by line. How to work with newlines, arrays, and absolute paths. And how to avoid common mistakes like forgetting to close your writer or reader. File I/O might seem basic, but it's a core skill. These are the kinds of operations that appear in technical interviews and real-world projects alike. Once you're comfortable with this, you'll have a powerful tool in your Java toolkit. If this video helped you understand file input and output more clearly, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with others learning Java. In the next tutorial, we'll take this a step further and work with more advanced file handling techniques. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.